Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new edition of the Kolpack and Izzo Podcast, brought to you by Gate City Bank with Jeff Kolpack. I'm Dom Izzo. We record this on a huge basketball night for each of the Bison basketball teams as they face off against Oral Roberts. Bison women down in Tulsa, the Bison men welcoming in Kolpack's old buddy Paul Mills and ORU tonight. After last year's melee, Donnybrook, however you want to describe it. There are two new teams here, but should be a heck of an environment at the Shack for that game tonight, where David Richmond's team has turned things around after a brutal start. They are in second place and can be a game back of first if they're able to knock off ORU tonight. But the machine of Bison football, and I've joked about this with you, it never has an offseason, and we are
you got that right.
Literally 2 weeks ago today, we left for Frisco, and here we are, and we had one of our busiest, newsiest days of the whole year yesterday that landed in our laps, whether it be the official confirmation of the Bison football game that's going to be played in Nashville, to Noah Gindorf getting an invite to the NFL Combine, to the story you broke on two Bison defensive standouts in Courtney Eubanks and Dom Jones going into the transfer portal. So you can pick any of those stories. We can go wherever you want to start.
Both you and I, and we've gotten this over the years after the national title game, the question is, well, what are you going to do now? The answer is the same stuff do all year. It just never goes away.
No.
Football never goes away. It doesn't. It's a 12-year deal, and especially now with the portal and coaches moving. I guess that's always happened, but it is a 12-month-a-year job. And I think we should title this edition of the pod the Come to Jesus meeting.
Okay.
The airing of grievances, perhaps, because we have some with our listeners and some Twitter posts. Yep. I've gotten a couple texts I like to get to. And what we do as journalists is we attack what the news of the day is. And I know the Bison basketball team is having a big game, but the news of the day is not basketball. It's not. It's football.
Which is detrimental to basketball, honestly.
It is, but it's the world we live in.
It is. It's too bad because it's the biggest game of the year, but I do agree with you, and I feel for those guys because they're like, well, can we get a little of attention here? And everyone wants to talk about football, and rightfully so.
Let's get right to it, man, because there's this is the year where the portal has really hit NDSU right in the gut.
No doubt.
They've weathered the first 3 years, I guess, the portal, losing a guy here, a Jazeer here, a Jabril Cox there, Josh Hayes there. They've weathered it with just an occasional standout leaving. Now you got most of the defense.
Yeah.
This is heavy-duty stuff here right now.
Your entire secondary is now gone, whether by either graduation or through the portal. Two guys that were definitely going to be counted on to play a lot of football in Courtney Eubanks and Marquis Siegel for 2023 are now gone.
And Dom Jones
was certainly
going to play a lot.
He was going to be in the mix.
Those guys wouldn't have left the field much. They would not have left the field.
So the question we both got, I'll start with this, is like, why isn't the media asking hard questions of Matt Entz in the program?
Yeah,
and I would say we have.
Well,
we have asked.
What's a hard question? Here's the thing. Okay, listeners, here's the thing. These guys aren't leaving disgruntled employees. They're not leaving with just this trail of hatred or things aren't going wrong. They're leaving for the most part because there's a greener pasture on the other side.
Or what they think is a greener pasture.
What they think, absolutely. Yeah. Now, I'm sure I heard Ganella left a little disgruntled, but don't fumble the ball.
Yep,
I mean,
right.
He got demoted on the depth chart, and those things happen. But by and large, these guys are leaving not because things are wrong here. And NDSU's admitted it's hard here.
Yep.
They don't shy away from that. It's not for everybody. How many times have we heard that? And it isn't for everybody. Right. And so you have a faction of people would leave anyway because of that. But you have this new wave of guys leaving for the FBS and their dreams, and they, I think, misguided, but believe that their best shot to the NFL is through the FBS.
Here are the guys to leave since fall camp started. Phoenix Sproles. I don't know if I would qualify as disgruntled, but he was injured. He wasn't playing, and
he wasn't producing.
Right.
He dropped a couple passes. He wasn't producing.
He left, and he is in the FBS. He's at James Madison. Max Rader is a true freshman who the Bison had high hopes for, told that he wanted to go back home. That happens.
Yeah. Yep.
Britton Pasco redshirt freshman that he was hurt most of last season, got his chance to get during practice, wanted to play. He transferred. He's going to
probably
Robert
not
Morris.
Good enough.
DJ Hart. Now, that one to me still, I still scratch my head on that one. DJ Hart was playing and seeing his role increase.
Puzzler.
He transferred. He's at Northern Iowa right now. So that
he obviously took a hit in financial terms,
no doubt,
because Northern Iowa does not have cost of attendance, which is almost $4,000 a year. I doubt he's getting a full scholarship.
Yeah, that would be interesting to me. Marquise Siegel left and is at Kansas State. Now that's when you look at it and say, good luck to you. You're going to Power 5 football. That makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yep. But there's no guaranteed starting spot there either, and it's a risk. And K-State now is not a team trying to build its roster.
K-State ain't easy either. We know that staff.
K-State is now there. They have arrived.
They just won the Big 12.
They have solidified players in place. So Marquise is going to have to. He's got his work cut out for him.
We mentioned Ganella.
And he's a walk-on, by the way.
He's going to South Florida.
That's a walk-on deal.
And he's going back home. Dom Jones is an interesting, and I was just talking about this before I wrapped up Hot Mic. He saw the field in the spring of 2021 with Dawson Weber being sidelined. Jeff, he may have been the best defensive player for the Bison in the spring. He had 3 interceptions to lead the team, and he was a guy that was a difference maker out there. But when Weber came back healthy, you're not benching Dawson Weber, especially if he's playing at a all-conference, and as you gave him your defensive MVP, maybe potential All-American level. Jones, they actually tried to find a spot for him at linebacker this past fall. But this goes to another angle, which I can jump off here, is the extra year of eligibility is backloading a ton of younger guys who want to see the field, but can't because guys are going to use their 5th or 6th year of eligibility. And it's not just here.
And I would argue, and I think I'm right on this, that the extra year of eligibility is contributing to this mass portal.
No doubt.
Exodus, because you take a guy who's going into his junior year or just finished his junior year, is he going to transfer for one more season? But after 3 years of playing, he can go, I got 2 years of eligibility left.
Correct.
That's a huge difference. You can take a guy with 2 years because you can maybe mix him into the process of your team that first year, and then he contributes at a high level the second year. Hard to do it in 1 year.
Right. Courtney Eubanks had, I think, 7 or 8 FBS offers out of high school. It was a steal. The Bison got him in February of, 2020 when he ended up getting here. And the coaching staff told me, him and Siegel, they're going to play. They're going to play a lot right away. They're that good. And Eubanks ended up starting at the end of that spring season, and then he never left the field. He was a 2-year starter. He's been the shutdown guy at cornerback each of the last 2 years. That's a huge loss there. There's no other way to sugarcoat that, and he's going to end up, I would imagine, at a Power 5 school. I would imagine if you're doing this, I think both of them are going to end up at the FBS. I don't know both Power 5, but they're both going to be playing FBS football.
I think they're good enough, and I guess the question now is, it is a little late in the process. Are teams all scallied up for next year? Are they looking at their depth chart? And I guess not everybody, there are teams that are always need depth at defensive back. So I would imagine they'll find some sort of FBS offer. And just so you know, everybody, that FBS, it's full ride or nothing.
Right. That or you're walking on. One or the other. There's no partial scholarships like an FCS. So that leads to the next question I got, you got. Well, there's got to be something wrong with the coaching staff. There's got to be something wrong with Matt Entz. You want to address that?
Well, I don't see it. I don't hear it. And it, I don't hear complaints. There's that, to my knowledge. No, I think things are the same. And the former Bison players have gone on Twitter and saying they don't think things have changed in over the years. What's changed is the portal. That's what's changed.
Is college football as a whole. The whole game itself is completely
NIL,
different right now.
Different ball game.
And that's something I'll get into a little bit later.
Do you think Billy Turner wouldn't have gotten attention if he were...
I don't think Billy Turner finishes his time at NDSU.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think Kyle Emanuel does. I don't think Marcus Williams does. I'll point at that. Carson Wentz would have been a interesting deal.
Gone after him his senior year.
Who's to say it wasn't happening with Christian Watson last year? You know what I mean?
Well, it was.
That's what I'm saying. I know. I can tell you that for firsthand that there were... Watson said no. He chose to come back to play his 5th year at NDSU. That that is more going to be the anomaly than it is going to be a regular occurrence. What you're going to see is what you saw happen. And does name, image, likeness, a collective, solve all that, Jeff? An FBS? I don't think so, but it certainly would help. NIL would help. There's nothing going on right now on the collective side of things, on the booster side at NDSU.
Would it help? We don't know if it would help because it hasn't been done. I don't know if it's been done much in the FCS level. You hear about schools. Illinois State starting.
Montana State's got a pretty good one.
How much is that? You could say you start something, but how much is that?
But it's more than what NDSU's doing right now. NDSU, it's only for select guys.
I guess $10 is more than NDSU's doing.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's more than. Now, you could argue, I don't believe Montana State does cost of attendance yet. NDSU does that.
Illinois State does not.
Illinois State does not do that. So there's the crossing of wires there. I think, though, if you are a uber North Dakota State fan, which is most of the ones that listen to our podcast, that if you're angry about this, it's time to put your money where your mouth is here. You're seeing what the University of Minnesota is doing. You're seeing what other schools have formed up to do. Then if this is what's going to take to get a high-level player either to come here or stay here, maybe somebody's got to get the ball rolling in my mind on that.
Yes, and I'm not sure how that goes, how you do that, how you disperse the money, how all that is.
Yep, that's beyond my scope on that.
But, yeah, I've gotten a lot of comments. I'm just circling through, and some of them are too long to talk about this. But I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. This is a comment. I don't think there's enough stakeholders involved that either one believe this system is hurting vastly more kids than it helps, and two, precious few of those that do believe it won't beat the drum for the changes now the way they did before. Players deserve a share of the revenue, but should they be able to transfer without penalties?
Well, I'm all for player movement. Yeah. I have been for years. They're not going to go backwards on that.
And he goes on to say that I applaud you and Mike's care in not criticizing the kids, which you have not, but we can heap deserving criticism on both the system and the resulting poor player choices, which we have talked about, and the consequences of those choices without it being an attack on kids.
Yep. I think that's fair. I think we've done that. I don't think anybody likes the system, but the NCAA, we've followed this story for 3 years now. They have taken their hands off the wheel. There are no guardrails on NIL. They have said, we have washed our hands of it. You do whatever you want. So this is the results that we have now. Same with the portal.
And I try to be fair in criticism of kids moving. I see the FBS kids, good for them, a new experience. Jazeer Cox got, second team?
All Big 12.
All Big 12.
In West Virginia.
Good for him. Yep. I don't think it makes him a better pro prospect, if that's the goal. I don't think so, but he found another experience, and that's life. But some kids, man, you better be careful what's on the other side.
Yep.
And you better be careful, again, we've talked about this, and Kyle mentioned this a few weeks ago, that most of if you're going to another FCS, most of FCS is not all in on football. Right. They are not. They're basketball schools. Be careful what you ask for.
It's a really interesting deal. And I think for fans who were still scarred, Jeff, from the Thanksgiving episode with Ganella, Siegel, and Hart to leave, you add this on top of it. This is jarring. I don't blame fans for feeling the way they are. This has got to be the biggest shot of the bow to an FCS school in the transfer portal era. This has got to be this year with NDSU. I don't know if another team that's gotten just killed like this with quality of players. And that's what I'm saying. NDSU is that level of player. Like I had people tweeting, well, South Dakota State hasn't had it yet. Let me add in that qualifier. Yet South Dakota State will have this happen. The Jackrabbits, with being this good and going to be really good again, it will come. It's only a matter of time. They will find you.
I had one coach tell me once that Boise State knows who everybody NDSU offers.
Yeah. Yep. You know who else does? University of Minnesota certainly does.
They know who
absolutely
who NDSU's. They keep track. All these schools keep track.
There's no doubt about that. And we've seen, how many times have we seen it? Well, the Bison offer. Riley Sunram is a great example. Young man from Kindred, North Dakota. He's the top high school football prospect for the class of 2024. North Dakota State was the first to offer him. A week later, who offered him? PJ Fleck in the University of Minnesota. I would guarantee they had not seen him yet. But because the Bison did, the Gophers got in there.
And PJ, who was in West Fargo the week before signing day.
Yeah.
With
Carter Menz
kid, yep.
With West Fargo Cheyenne. Just to make sure that he wasn't going to flip knowing his older brother plays at North Dakota State. That's an intriguing nugget
PJ
there.
recruiting against NDSU, is that can win you a Big Ten divisional title?
Depends on the kind of players you're getting. I think.
I
NDSU would certainly say that. Like, look at the players that we have. You mentioned the caliber of players that are leaving. I guess on the flip side of this, and we'll spend plenty on 2023, the Bison defense, Jeffrey, is in a rough state of affairs here. Their defensive coordinator is now gone. Their entire back end is gone. You lost a 6-year player up front in Spencer Wagey. There is some work to be done here.
There's never been a question mark on one side of the ball this striking since after the 2009 season.
I was going to say, since the dynasty started. Yeah. Yep.
2010.
Right.
2010, they were coming on, and all those guys were coming back. They had a lot of young. So this has got to be the biggest question mark since 2009. Got to be.
Now, and they have some young guys that they really like.
Well,
but again,
time
they
is
are
now.
right. They're
Right.
freshmen, though. That's the thing. They haven't seen the field. Now, spring ball can only do you so well. They do have a transfer coming in. Marcus Shepard from Bowling Green as a cornerback that's played. But now I imagine they're going to have to go. Ensign's going to have to go into the portal to get a guy.
Yes,
right?
he does. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But now is the time for Ryan Jones, the safety from Frisco.
Yeah.
Now is the time for the Givens kid, right?
Darius Givens, they really like a lot.
Reggie King.
Yep.
This is the time. I mean, spring football is going to be big for these guys to learn the
Keith
system.
Alexander's another young man they really like from Florida. And here, I want to dovetail off of this because I had this email to me. It said, Jeff, a majority of the guys that have left have come from Florida or Georgia. How big a deal is that? DJ Hart is from Georgia. Dom Jones is from Georgia. Dom Ganella from Florida. Courtney Eubanks from Florida. Is there something to that? You're not going to stop recruiting that area.
But only Ganella's gone home. DJ Hart didn't exactly go home.
Nope.
Cedar Falls, Iowa is not near Georgia, so I don't know about that. I don't see the evidence, full range evidence yet.
Of where they're going.
Yeah.
Where they end up, I should say, right?
The go home factor.
Right. I don't either. I'm just throwing it out there.
And Ganella's a walk-on, so I don't know if you can't. I suppose if you want to walk on your home, he did that.
Some things I don't want to give a whole lot of oxygen to, but this one was emailed to me as well, and I'm just going to, because I did the research on it. Is it a majority of black players, Dom? It's not. If it was like 27-1, I think we'd have a story there. I went back over the last 3 years to look at white players, black players that left, and it's virtually even. I think there's like 3 more black players that have left than white players. So again, I don't want to give that a ton of oxygen, but I know people had said something about it, and I went back and looked. So there's nothing to that. If it was completely one-sided, Jeff, I think we'd have to follow up on that. It is not, and I just wanted to get that out there as well. We had a bunch of we asked for questions online.
Yeah, let's get to them.
We appreciate people asking on this. One is actually St. Thomas related, which I know you have connections there with the football coach, Glenn Caruso, with the announcement this week. Does this make them any closer to a Missouri Valley team with a $75 million basketball and hockey arena coming to the school?
I'm with Patrick Royce. It makes them closer to a Big East team in basketball.
Saw that.
No
he
question.
Put that out there.
And I was thinking about that the other day when I'm watching Creighton and Butler.
Yep.
I'm thinking St. Thomas, it's in the footprint there. It's a private school thing with the Big East. I can see that. I think St. Thomas, I don't know. They like their situation now because of the scholarship issue. If they were to go FBS, and the kids get now, they're almost 100% funded, through academic aid.
Academic aid, yep.
Yes. And if they were to go FBS, I think they'd have to cut.
Oh, they definitely would. Yeah.
I don't know if they want to do that.
Big East in 5 years. All right. That's something to keep an eye on.
Well, that arena and that market.
Dom and Jeff, is this the best women's basketball team in 15 years? Slam dunk, yes.
Yes.
Not even close.
Yes.
Not even close. And we've seen some bad women's basketball over the last decade.
And I
would
think Elle Evans is the best recruit I've seen since the Amy Rulli days.
And who's to say Elle Evans is going to make it all 4 years? You know what I mean? I mean, we're harping on football, But there's a player of that caliber, granted as a true freshman, but she's got abilities that others would certainly like. But the answer to that is a slam dunk yes. This has been really, really good. Dom and Jeff, where are the big whales that are ready to aggressively support name, image, likeness, and FBS move funding? If these last 2 months weren't a call to action, when will it be?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Well, the players would say, well, wait a minute. You just got a $53 million indoor practice facility privately funded. There's no money for us? And I think that's a valid question. If the collectives are allowed, which they are, then where there's nothing for us over here.
Here's where I see NDSU has to go financially. And again, it's easy for me to say here, just sitting behind a mic as a poor sports writer, but I look at the endowment, the athletic endowment. When I did the story on it, was $71 million, and that was last fall. And there's a path, there's an avenue where if you raise $71 million, can you raise $150 million? And it takes $125 million right now to fund all scholarships endowed for foreseeable future.
Perpetuity here?
Yes. Yeah. You get to $125 million, and that in theory would fund every scholarship currently in the Division I world. Now, if they go FBS, probably has to be more.
Yep.
What if there's so much money out there. What if you get that to $200 million? If you got to 70, can you get to 200? They got to 70 in short order.
I know. I
Dom.
say you got to 70. What's stopping you from getting to 100 or 125?
They got to 70 without even really making it a huge emphasis.
Right. Yep. I agree. That's
Isn't that mind-boggling?
It is. And that's why I think your point is that, what's to stop them saying, all right, let's go for 100 or 125?
And let's take part of that endowment and it's fun. Can you fund NIL somehow like that? Well, I guess it's from private donors.
Correct. It's not from the school, so you can do whatever you want with it. Why can you put a little pot of it over here and say?
To me, that's the avenue to FBS. You wonder, okay, where's the money going to come from? Well, I think you can do it the endowment way. That's just a theory.
Dom and Jeff, not really questions, but discussion points. NIL for NDSU, where does it stand? As we know right now, not much.
Not much.
I asked Todd Phelps about it on my show this morning. He said there's not a groundswell. There have been some discussions, but nothing more than that. Fan engagement and FCS support is declining. This leads to monetary and community support being reduced. NDSU needs to act fast here, in my opinion, meaning doing whatever it takes for FBS, and then Fargo Dome renovation.
Talking about attendance here, I would imagine, and all of the above is our basic answer. I'd love to see a huge renovation. That's got to be done. It's 30 years old. Now, is that the answer? No, it's not the answer, but it's part of the answer.
But again, it's all of these things. It's NIL, it's FBS, it's the dome renovation. It's all of these things are together, much like we're talking about.
We invested $48 million at the start, and that was in 1989, I think, when the vote was. It opened in 93. That we invested that much, and the best investment Fargo ever made, hands down.
Not even close.
Time to put another $50 million, $100 million into it. $100 million. We got to do it.
And then you've got it for what? Another 30 to 40 years, right?
At least. You put in another deck. My friends joke about the Crown Royal deck on the corner. Put it up there. Put some, go out
You got to have some
build
suites.
more bathrooms than you ever think you'll need.
Expand the concourse.
Put a huge West Acres food court thing out there. It's just new seats.
Wi-Fi,
new seats. Those seats are ugly. I'm sorry. They are. There's no cup holders. When I go to a Red Hawks game, I go out and grab a beer. You know what? I like the cup holder. I do.
A lot of people do. It's a simple thing.
Yeah, I know it's simple, but I go to concerts at the Dome. I go have a beer, and all of a sudden,
you're hanging on to
it. Somebody's coming through, and you go, oh, God, don't kick it. Oh, God. I know these are trivial, simple things, but it's all of the above.
All attached
all
to
the
it.
above.
Bulk of kids leaving so far from the South. Do you shift that focus back to even more Midwest recruiting and transfers?
No,
I don't think
not.
so.
Yeah, there's not enough players up here to field a team at that high a level. In North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, I don't think you can get enough. You need in football. You need to expand it at the high end FCS level, of certainly the FBS level. You think South Dakota State's getting all their players from South Dakota?
No. They hit Missouri, Arkansas. They're heading that part of the country. They're going down there and getting really good players. Would the transfer portal exit of players be this many if NDSU were in the FBS? Since all these players leaving want to play FBS.
Yeah, yes, I did answer this online. Depends how good you are in the FBS. If you're if you're a group of 5 that's just killing it, you made the 12-team playoff. You're probably going to get some.
Right. If you're Tulane, Tulane was in, they would have been in the expanded playoff if they had it this
generally,
year.
I don't think it'd be to this level, not this year.
Probably not. I agree. Is NIL money at NDSU really going to stop them from leaving? Not sure if being in a group of 5 conference would stop them. I think everyone wants to play at a Power 5 school, and that's what it's about. If 5 guys leave, it will work out for one of them. The rest are riding the bench or not playing.
Well, again, the answer is we don't know, but I think you got to do something, and that's your general stance, right?
I agree. Yes, you have to do something.
Something's happening here, and you just can't sit there and go.
Matt Entz has said it. He said it at the season opening press conference when I asked him about it. Like, we cannot sit on the sideline and just let everything go by. We have to be active in the portal. We have to be active in name, image, likeness. He told me that before the season started. Now the season's over. They have been active in the portal. They've added, I think, now 5 guys for the 2023 team. Name, image, likeness, they're still sitting by the sideline. At least that's how I look at it. Some guys Cam Miller is the only one I know of, and Cody Malk and Wagee, who had little deals with Hurtin' Horns. That's it. It doesn't have to be a whole lot.
They probably did that themselves, or Hurtin' Horns probably contacted
Correct.
Cody and said, hey.
Yeah. Hey, you want to do this?
Yeah.
You can do a quick radio spot for us? Got to be more than that. This is a good question. Is college football killing the goose that lays the golden eggs? A lot of longtime fans are deflated. Attendance and donations will suffer.
Maybe.
Well, I would tell you, ratings-wise, it's never been higher. Interest-wise, it's never been. When we're talking about it here, well, after the season, it's never been. It's never been better. It's never been higher for college football than it is right now. Now,
it's just these are hot button issues that have to be.
But is the economic? I had this question posed to me: is the economic model sustainable? I don't think so. I think it is sustainable for the Power 5 because they have their TV money and they're gonna go do what they want to do. For the Group of 5 and the FCS, it is not. That's where to answer this question and another one, I think that whole thing has to have some sort of reform, some sort of guidance, like this is where we're going to go.
How are these MAC schools going to make it that draw 800 people on a Tuesday night?
I don't know.
How
are these FCS schools going to make it?
And a lot of these MAC schools are from smaller towns that don't have the community support that NDSU has in terms of revenue generation.
We were in Macomb this past November. They shut down 2 academic buildings and 3 residence halls. I mean, it is bad shape in the state of Illinois. I mean,
and that's in Macomb.
Right. In 5 to 10 years, is Western Illinois, is Southern Illinois, are they going to still be open? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. At this rate, there's no way Western Illinois can compete with the top end of the Missouri Valley.
And they just added another school in Murray State that we don't believe can compete either. You know, that's an A to Z there.
Murray comes here, unfortunately, because I want to go to Murray. I want to see what's going on here.
That's for 2024.
Yes.
Last one here, and then we'll wrap up. Please share your opinions on a potential quarterback change for next season.
Oh, I think it's going to be...
It's actual on-the-field question.
Yeah, it's always open. And my sense is that Cam's the starter, right? And he had pretty... You could say what you want about the title game, and Gronowski, because he overshadowed him, was the issue. But Cam had good stats this year. I mean, his completion percentage was good, and he ran the ball pretty effectively late in the year. Now, you talk about Cole Payton. Well, when's Cole Payton going to get a chance? Well, I think he's got to throw the ball better. He's obviously not throwing the ball in practice as well as Cam Miller. I think we can pretty much assume that.
Yeah, there has to be something why we haven't seen him throw it in a game, to your point. Because there also are fans saying, well, if Cole doesn't play, he's going to leave. You can't coach like that.
Maybe he can't throw well enough at this level.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
we don't see this day in, day out because we don't go to practice. Yeah. The coaches chart every damn pass out there. They chart every pass in practice. They review film every day in practice. They've obviously made the judgment that this is the way the quarterback depth chart is going to be.
I think it's a open competition in the spring. I will say that.
Okay.
I think they will let this be decided from the spring and then into fall camp. I think Cam Miller has done a very nice job. And you're right, his stats are what they are, and he's won. He won a national championship. But there is still, I think, something lacking in that position that they have not been able to find, whether it's
just number 2 overall draft pick.
Well, not necessarily that, but the ability to put the team on his shoulders and come back and win. The first game against South Dakota State this year, the Arizona game this year. You saw that with Brock Jensen. Saw that with Carson Wentz, with Easton Stick, with Trey Lance. Cam hasn't done that yet. We need to see that.
Yeah, that's fair.
With Cole Payton, everything you said is completely
He's a better runner.
Accurate. No doubt. But there has to be something why we haven't seen him drop back and throw the ball. There has to be something to that. And it's not just, the game didn't develop like that. That's baloney to me. If you think you got an opportunity to make a play, you put him in the game. Right? It's about winning the football game. And if his confidence was completely shattered after what happened against South Dakota State, then that's something that has to be addressed as well. But that needs to be addressed as well.
And I do believe NDSU needs to expand its offense from here until next fall.
They were very limited.
Yep. And you can't be limited.
We talked about that at the start of the season.
Can't be afraid to go back to pass.
Who's the guy going to make a play down the field? We never got that answer. We never got that answer throughout the entire season. So I appreciate at least one on the field question before we wrap. What do you think about another destination game? Nashville, Tennessee.
Love it. That's the way of the world. UND hockey is proving that is a great thing to do.
Vegas. Well from Vegas.
They had a Nashville takeover.
They did.
I had a bunch of friends that were down there. They just took over the whole main drag, whatever.
And I imagine
Nashville.
North Dakota State fans do the same thing.
Yep.
I believe Las Vegas is probably next on deck, maybe for potentially 2027. I'll just real quick on scheduling, because I know our listeners know I'm a nerd on this. Next year, Jeffrey, we're gonna, not 23, 24. The Bison are going to put the miles on. Boulder, Colorado, Johnson City, Tennessee, Murray, Kentucky, Carbondale's on that trip, Macomb as part of, and Vermilion. Those are the 6 road games in 2024.
Dom, you better save your pennies here for travel. Because everybody knows you fund our travel.
Exactly right. WDAY is the main one on there. But look at the storylines Deion Sanders we got coming up. Eddie George potentially coming up.
If he's still there.
If he's still the coach at Tennessee State. Those are some names in football. That's exciting.
This Coach Prime things, and that's another podcast. It's fascinating to me. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see.
How about your buddy Tim Miles being mic'd up on live TV for 2 hours the other night?
Yes, and I've got it on pretty firsthand account that he'll never do that again. Hard for coaches to be on their best behavior. I don't think Richard Pitino would ever. He actually said that at the end of the broadcast.
Did he? I didn't see that.
He goes, "Let's not do this again," or something.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Did he lose the glasses, by the way? Did he have LASIK done? He wasn't wearing glasses. Did you notice that? He wasn't wearing his glasses
Yeah,
on
you
Tuesday
asked
night.
Richmond, and Richmond goes, I have other things to worry about than that.
Looked like he had LASIK done or something. Got to figure that out. So we appreciate all the comments. I want to keep that a regular deal when we record this to get some other feedback that we can answer throughout the quote-unquote the off-season. But that's the latest there on what's going on. But Bison defense is going to have some question marks heading into 2023. There's no doubt about that. Good stuff as always, man. Thanks for doing this. Jeff Kolpack on our latest edition of the Kolpack and Izzo Podcast, brought to you by Gate City Bank. You can listen to past episodes at inforum.com, download Apple iTunes or Google Play, wherever you find your podcast, and we'll keep this going. No off season for Bison football. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.